I was talking about songwriting successes, voice and heart, with an old buddy of mine. He and I see this topic differently because he has always enjoyed music. He's not a performer himself, though he's taught himself some guitar. Strums along and plays some songs. Very nice. I've urged him to come to the open mic. He says he's not ready. It's up to him. But he's very forgiving of the old bands and the acts, and not necessarily the quality of the people involved, but certainly what it takes to create art, what that art means, and who you can give credit to for it. Case in point, the Monkees, who were a band created by two millionaire songwriters, Boyce and Hart. And they were loosely affiliated under Don Kirshner, who later realized the money in it and kicked them out and took all the money. It's the way the music industry used to work. Check the Britney Spears story. It's the way the musical industry still works. Read Michael Jackson's story. Read Prince's story. Read why you have to go on even when you're critically injured, because the music industry won't let you recover. You're worth too much money. The money's more important than you are, than your art is, than anything but marketing and selling product. And if I'm wrong, then I've missed a lot over the years, but I think I'm pretty well right down the middle here. So, in the process of all this, my friend and I have been arguing, discussing. He's very, very polite about it, and I'm very, very indignant. Irate. That's my style, sadly to say. And one of the reasons I'm not successful. However, I have a lot of the abilities required to be successful, but I lack a few. So here's my response to his looking at the picture on the cover of a Hart and Boyce record that they made a hit by themselves, because they wrote songs for all kinds of acts in the 70s. And they created the Monkees out of their own material, and coupled by some other major songwriters like Neil Diamond. And they created the Monkees. The Monkees were four boys picked out of a modeling catalog, not sent to them from the music union, not the musicians union. They were picked out of a modeling catalog. So that means something. Even though Peter Tork was extremely talented, and no offense to the other boys, but really, he's the only one that came in knowing how to play a musical instrument. That tells it all right there. You can find the Monkees audition tape. Look for it on YouTube. Monkees audition tape. You get a kick out of it, watching four pretty boys being pretty for the camera. I'm being pretty. They're not being musical. The only one that's being musical is Peter. So that's why I say that stuff. So anyway, talking about Boyce and Hart again. Yep, wild, dimpled chin millionaire songwriter performers. But according to that picture I saw of them, they should not try to look like mop tops. They kind of remind me of FBI agents trying to infiltrate a pot party in the burbs. Is it possible that they, Boyce and Hart, created the Monkees as dissemination, so that they themselves would not have to go on tour, endure the grueling pace and ablative experience? They could fine-tune the boys over the telephone. Wear the wide bandanas tonight, and red since that's a city color. And Mick, ditch the cape. How doth the little puppeteer improve his tiny tryst, and pore over the gossip rags while leaving others pissed? How cheerfully he sits around his mansion snorting coke, and welcomes all the profits from his 4 pigs in a poke. Damn, my friend. On second look, that seems pretty addictive. Not the coke, but the completion. As though, well, I couldn't play dress up with my sister's dolls until now. And that ablative style on the road, that's what killed Pink Floyd's Roger and Sid. Roger became jealous of Sid's girl-boy magnetism. Compare Pipers of the Dawn to Dark Side of the Moon and see what you think. Those are two completely different bands. Now, Pink Floyd used to be a hard-bitten proto-punk masterpiece. Then it morphed into a Syd Barrett tribute band. Now, recently, it's 2 acts, a Roger Waters tribute band and a David Gilmour tribute band. Which is the better? Which carries the most of its members' dreams and aspirations? In my view, Syd Barrett was always changing, Never remembering the score, improvising his own at every performance, his distaff in the artistic sense, Roger wrote rhythmically complex work that was meant to be performed by a five-man version of the classical orchestra. Sid was a starved-looking pretty poet, loved by, I can fix that, girls. Roger was neither pretty or well-spoken. Talented? Oh my. An introverted poet? Yep. But not attractive to chicks. And that appeal is how we rate ourselves, then and now. Even notoriously gay Freddie Mercury acknowledged that that was the truth in his Fat-Bottom Girls, You Make the Rocking World Go Round, because without girls, there is no rocking world. We know who buys the most merch. Roger wants the song to fit his mental model. He wants every lick carefully planned and exquisitely executed. Enter David Gilmour, attentive, musically anal, a man who listens to a new song one passage at a time, then sits on the bed playing every sort of lick until he finds one that sticks. Afterward, it's written in stone. Roger's perfect partner. So naturally, they don't get along. Each feels his is the only relevant contribution to the band's skyrocket success. Reminds me of McCartney-Lennon, the Hulk and Freakazoid, Oil and Fire, innocent Vietnamese citizens and Kissinger. Scary. To reiterate, Pink Floyd used to be a hard-bitten proto-punk masterpiece. Then it morphed into a Syd Barrett tribute band. Now, recently, it's two acts, a Roger Waters tribute band and a David Gilmour tribute band. Which is the better? Which carries the most of its members' dreams and aspirations? When I talked about how David creates his licks for a song, it was all archived in the period documentary, where David is shown doing exactly that. There is some perspective for you. Pursuant to it, allow me to suggest carefully that the oddities you see in my psyche are very close to those required for stardom and self-destruction. That's why I seem so elitist. I expect other talents to take their art seriously. Since I conceive, compose, write, and perform all the music myself, I find myself inclined to think anyone who contributes that less is a hobbyist, unless he or she is also a dedicated musician, a musical technician, capable of speaking and writing in the language and alphabet of music. Moreover, from the practical point of view, I am not important to music. That so cheeses me. Those important to music are either inveterate self-marketers or are being promoted by professionals. And that stuff is all external to what I do, what I love, what I am. Grr. So I am caught in a prejudice loop. Those successful talents who do what I do, write and perform all their own stuff, aren't doing it once they become successful. They have to become businessmen or women or lose their fortunes and or financial potential. That becomes their center, not music. You can't be both. One is your hobby. Can anyone be a hobbyist businessman? I don't think so. On the other hand is the team member. He or she only has to do a sliver of what I do every time I play, and is worth so much more to music than all my musical poetry and avant-garde use of trope and technique and rhythm. All my creativity. So now you know the reason for my rants. I don't hate anyone. I am glad for those who find completion and success. I still love many of the songs of our shared youth, but I expect much of other talents, especially the successful ones, while what they have to teach is how to be successful, not how to be talented. Businessmen for the win. Worse, the industry, as opposed to people, considers artists to be a dime a dozen. Thus I sit here, fuming, writing, composing, writing, thinking, reading, writing, and no arithmetic. Should have paid more attention to arithmetic, I see now. Wild Bill.